So let me introduce myself. I am Vojtech, and I am an expert based on education stuff here at CERIT. So let me introduce you to education design and what's an education design and how to think about just designing your training in KYPO and how to effectively design the training based on effectively learning outcomes, etc., etc. So let's move on. Okay, here you see that Jakub introduced you the definition phase, and we heard Tomáš about deployment of KYPO. So here are now talking about education design and how to think about these important education questions, how to effectively create some training in KYPO. And we will see something interesting about technical stuff from another Tomáš. So let's dive in for now to education stuff. And here we are talking in KYPO about some training definitions. So we are going through how to think about the training definitions, how to develop them, how to create them. So let's talk about it. You just can think about this process based on some call it like in this presentation, I have it step-based design for developing cybersecurity training. So it's based on some important steps, step by step, as you can deduct. So basically, the steps are following. You can imagine it like the process from general ideas to very specific steps like rules, etc., etc. For learning objectives, it stands they can be based on some so-called SMART goals and NICE framework, which was presented by Jakub earlier. But what are SMART goals? The word SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound SMART goals. It means that your learning objective should be SMART. It should be specific. It should be measurable. It should be achievable, realistic, and time-bound. Then you have to choose your approach. It shall be directly derived from training's objectives, as I said just a few seconds ago. And there are a few approaches you can choose. We will talk about them a few moments later. Then you will build topology and create your scenario for your learning objectives and based on your approach, and it will be introduced by Tomáš after my presentation. And this topology and this scenario specifies some hardware and software equipment it will be used in your training. Then there are tasks and gamification that should be based just on the game elements, and it should be fun, and it should be like, as it says, a game for your students, for the participants of the training. And it should simulate the logical flow of events within your game. Then there are some rules that maintain game continuity and fairness. Then there are metrics you should collect and you should observe, and they are necessary for measuring the efficiency of the training. And then there is some important aspect, and it's evaluation, which is important for gathering feedback and to develop your training or create based on that experience a whole new and brand new top-notch training. And let me talk some more information about these steps. Well, there are, as I said, learning objectives, which can be general, as you can say, students can harden the system, they should implement security configurations, etc. And based on information Jakub provided you, based on nice framework, you can define some concrete learning objectives. For example, skill number 4, skill in analyzing network traffic capacity and performance characteristics, etc., etc. So you can define, as I said, perfect learning objectives. It's not exactly important how many they are, but it should be as specific as possible. So I said something about approaches. You can choose, for example, defense-oriented approach in your cybersecurity training, which specifies on studying and practicing the defense methods. You can choose attack-oriented approach for deep understanding about attack scenarios and methodologies and how to, for example, do some penetration testing, etc. And you can choose mixed approach, which is the most preferred approach, and it mixes the both previously set approaches, the defense and attack oriented. And it is because the students will learn the most of the mixed approach from from the first and the second point of view. Then there is topology and the importance of creating your topology for your scenario and your training. And about topology, Tomáš will say more about 5 or 10 minutes. It's basically just the definition of the infrastructure you will use, what system will be used, and how they will be connected. And the topology, the important thing is that the topology should also be created based on number of participants for your training. So it is because you have some about 20 or 25 students or participants of your training, and it will be for you difficult to manage some big topology, big infrastructure, because the students may have some different approaches and different know-how how to do your stuff you want to learn them. And yeah, that's the topology, and I will just leave it behind for Tomáš. So basically this is how the topology can be created, and it is based on our demo scenario and demo content.
And scenario is the important thing because it should be based on a realistic situation from our real world. And it's because because you just have to be immersive with your content, creating content in KYPO for your training, and students should be really intrigued in the so-called game or the training. And it's increasing the participants' interest, and they can feel like they are playing the game. They feel like it's interesting enough for them. In KYPO, there are also possibility to creating some tasks, and you should be aware of that. You should write some catchy and really understandable assignments and really well structured, for example, in some bullets or mainly with markdown format, really well structured tasks to create answers and step-by-step solutions to really that should be really helpful for students to gain them the desired knowledge and practical skills how to do this step-by-step. And also really important thing is that you should create some hints, because there can be some tasks that may be difficult for students, and they will be demotivated. And the hints you can provide them, they can help the participants to just I shouldn't say skip the part or task, but to help them realize, oh well, that's the issue, I know that now, and I can move on. So, for example, the one task, the example one task in KYPO here, which is focused on connecting via telnet. We can say the estimated duration, we can see the number of hints, we can see the content, some sort of well-structured solution and provided hints. So you can describe the problem, you can create the solution, and you can create the hints that will be provided for your students, and also possibility to gaining some sort of points and implementing that gamification elements I said about earlier. And as I said right now, it's highly recommended to use gamification and gamification elements because they support players' engagement, and the students feel really like they are playing some sort of, for example, video game or something like that, because if it's like a game for them, it shows that the learning outcomes are the most beneficial. And there are some gamification elements you can use. For example, narrative. It's basically the background story of your training. Injects that they are the events, simulated events that will provide more and more information which they can use in those steps. Player's identity is basically you say in the scenario you are a cybersecurity manager, or something like that to feel they are the part of the game. And also you can use rewards. In KYPO there are points. It's the really basic level of the gamification, but it's really useful. And for example, you can add yourself for the students some badges and some sort of another gamification element. About rules, it is really important to set clear and fair rules for everyone, including anti-cheat policy. And it's really useful to use approach called whatever is not explicitly prohibited is permitted. So you just have to be aware of what types of actions or methods your students cannot use, and other methods and approaches are permitted. And there are some types of rules, for example, general rules, which describe how the exercise is supposed to run, to scoring rules. You will set the way of the obtaining points, and you will set the way they will be punished, or the way they lose points for which actions, and limitations in which you specify which strategies they can use, they cannot use, etc. Okay, and another important thing are metrics. You and KYPO will allow to collect some important metrics. So you can, or you should, collect some event logs and most importantly participants' feedback, because it's the most precious one. And you can focus on various aspects you can observe. For example, time spent on some task, or the whole training, a number of successful or on the other hand wrong answers, and number of used hints, so you know which part was difficult for the most of your students. So yeah, the metrics are most valuable thing for the final evaluation. It's important to evaluate the outcome of your whole training, and for example write your notes during the training, and just you can, if it's suitable for your training, ask live the students questions about, is this difficult, is this not difficult, and what is the problem you have, and so on. And if you will create some training, you should license your game, ideally under Creative Commons license and MIT license. So everyone, for example, here in this venue, so everyone can use your training to just enhance your students' skills and abilities and knowledge. So it is highly recommended by us to license your game and provide it to everyone. And there are some delivery methods, how you can deliver the prepared training of yours. There are some conventional methods which are on-site trainings and classroom trainings. It is basically in, for example, high school, just you as a trainer and some other trainees which are in the class or in one room, basically. Or you can change it, for example, based on online and software based method. So it you can provide some online course based on some cybersecurity topic, and based on that you can create your training in KYPO and provide the training in KYPO in combination with your course. So it's the mixed based approach here. Or you can just provide the cybersecurity training in KYPO, which is based on simulation and virtualization, and you provide basically the whole simulated laboratory training here. And some conventional methods are based on instructor-led training. So you are the instructor and you just will be there for your trainees. Online and software-based training is based on self-paced training. So your trainees or students or participants of the training can study or do this training on their own, taking their time as much as they want to. And we know that every student has different knowledge and different skills, and they are not just homogeneous group. And simulation and virtualization based approach or method is based, for example, on flipped classroom method or remote work learning, which is, from our experience 2 or 1 year ago, is pretty basic, pretty decent. So I think that this simulation and virtualization based method is well known for us all. And there are some best practices or best practice methods we observed. The important thing from our practice is you should test the training before deployment and before you go live. Watch your students and write notes which should be important for you and for the final evaluation. Ask the students if everything goes well and everything is all right, and what's not okay. Provide and receive the final feedback. Have a technical support ready for the inconvenience like this. And don't forget to clean up the whole training definition, because there will be really bad mess if you don't do that.